Okay, so, so okay, so we had a couple of false starts there because we had international phone calls ringing me up right in the middle of introductions there. But so today we've got myself, Isaac Johnson. We've got Dr. David Sichali here. David and I, we've worked together for many years. We first met in 2006, as I recall, and we've worked together ever since. Full disclosure, we worked together on David's company, Yunnique. And David, what does Yunnique do?
Uh, well, Yunnique is a trading company. Of course, we also have consulting and manufacturing units right here we're based right now in the mainland China.
And it's got a lot of strong roots as a social enterprise, which is really fascinating. And that kind of builds off of your background, having worked in many years in public service, medical service, and nonprofits, which is where we actually met. Was both working together at Bless China International. A lot of good years doing consulting internally and externally for nonprofits there. And one of the things that I wanted to get you talking about right off the bat was your the way that you look at vision and mission for organizations. And in the business world, it's very common that people come out and say, "Well, you need to establish a mission," and then you come up with this mission statement, have this mission, and then your vision is kind of like what will happen if you accomplish your mission. But you've always come at it backwards. You've always come at it with this, well, what's the vision? And then based on the vision, what should my mission actually be? And or at the very least, uh, what parts of this vision can I accomplish through a mission? And so that's always been very fascinating. And I think it has a particular power when we're talking about nonprofits, churches, social enterprises, because these are organizations that they want to make an impact, and the impact is what they want to do, and then they need to find ways to accomplish that impact. So let me ask you first, what was it that kind of got you to this point of saying vision should really come first in the process?
Because in the way we define vision, basically, when a vision is reached or accomplished, the mission becomes irrelevant because the mission exists to fulfill the vision. So basically, that's what it is. So there are some ongoing missions, like for example, for some people may say to alleviate poverty. Well, if that's their mission, so it means they should have a vision that when the vision is accomplished, meaning there's no longer poverty on this planet, basically they can pack their bags and means and celebrate that the mission is accomplished. They no longer they scrap that mission.
Okay, so summing up kind of what you just put out there was that there's that element of an organization might have a vision of completely alleviating poverty, but then the mission may not even be the totality of that per se. Like you might have an organization that's doing micro loans, and so they're saying, and they may even niche down further beyond that, and they might say, well, we want to help single mothers alleviate poverty for single mothers, because they have a vision of, yes, alleviating poverty, but at the moment their mission is to alleviate poverty within that subsection of society. And that that's interesting because it comes back a little bit to SMART goals and things like that, right? Like it's very hard for an organization to come in and be all things to all people per se. Whereas if you have that vision, you can say, yeah, we want to accomplish that vision, but right now we're going to focus in and deal with this. And to an extent, when you've accomplished that part, you've gotten much closer to that vision that you've got established. And you can either expand or partner or do other things to kind of get further into accomplishing that vision. Would that be accurate?
Yes, that's true. So the mission, of course, like you said, it will have some objective or activities that must be done to achieve uh, to achieve the mission. For example, during let's run for example, but during the desert storm, when back in the 90s, the mission for the whatever U.S. Army and the Allies was to get rid of, uh, you know, get of the get rid of the Iraqi army out of Kuwait. That was their mission. Something like that. I can't remember what, something like that. I don't remember all details. So that was their mission. So they were only given one mission, but to accomplish that mission, there's a lot of activities. There is, of course, military who are doing the cooking, the medical team, the military is just a lot of departments just to achieve just one single mission. A lot of activities and special race and flights in here and no name what. So to achieve a mission will require or does require, of course, a lot of different assignments or activities just to achieve one single mission. And of course, like in this case, it costs not millions, if not trillions of dollars just to achieve a single mission.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the first Gulf War like that, because that was an example of a war that actually had a, like you said, kind of a specific mission. And so it went in, we could debate a little bit, but more or less it was done and then out. And there've been other conflicts.
Yes, I like what you've just
with
said.
a lot of scope creep and things. Yeah.
And now, as you're saying, like for example, if I compare the mission for, so to use an example, Afghanistan they had, I'm not sure what was their mission. I can't tell you. I think they know what their mission was, but the other one was very clear.
Right. So yeah.
I'm just giving an example.
So yeah, you may have a vision of safety or security or things like that, but without those clear missions, without building missions based on kind of that vision that are clear and kind of achievable and that are actionable, you can't really get anywhere. I think that makes a really good point. That's one of those reasons why I wanted to ask you so much about this. Is like I said, so many organizations, even churches, which is kind of weird, they'll create a mission and like a mission statement, and then they'll kind of project out some kind of vision, which I always thought was very odd because religious organizations, particularly Christian nonprofits, Christian missions organizations, churches, there's this tendency they actually are given a vision. The book of Revelation is more or less vision. It's saying, hey, look, at the end there's going to be every tribe, every nation, before the throne of God. There's going to be a new heaven, new earth. So it hands you the vision. Mission statement. Christ does give a mission statement where he says in the Great Commission, where he says, go out into all the world, make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey all that I've commanded you. Right. Now, in these kinds of situations, I think you've got the vision. I think you've got a broader mission that's beyond you, but almost you need to stop and say, well, what part of this vision and mission am I supposed to achieve locally, or here, in this time, in this space? Does that make sense? How would you approach something like that?
Yes, of course. The churches or religious institutions, they try to redefine their own vision to make it more personal to them. But we know already, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, already Christ himself defined what his vision is. So basically, he has made his vision very clear. Meanwhile, what he did, he left us with mission. The mission is very clear. But to fulfill that mission, there's a lot of activities we have to do, whether it's being salt and light, helping single mothers or street kids or different people with different needs, since our world is full of so many needs, so that people can experience the love of the Lord. So I think that's so. Though each institution may choose one piece. Like, if I use the example, for example, we talked about the Operation Desert Storm. Some of the people that their job is just to cook. But if you ask him why you're here, he says we are here to, to push the Iraqi army out of Kuwait. That is the answer. They don't just cook. And of course they're armed and all that kind of thing. But whatever they do, whether they're there to do medical or to do whatever it is they're doing. So the same in this bigger picture of social enterprise or the church, they need to know whatever they're doing should direct or indirectly be contributing to accomplishing all the vision and eventually, of course, the mission.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. We dropped out there for a second. Such is the joys of having calls between, Singapore and China at times. It's just, sometimes there's a dropout. So I was just asking, there's going to be people out there that are asking, I'm part of a small NGO, nonprofit. And so, I thought we'd just go ahead and come up with a couple scenarios. We've done, enough scenarios over the years that we have some background with it. And let's go with one that's public health related, because you've got that background in public health, and I always find that a bit interesting. And sometimes we do a bit too much poverty alleviation, you and I, and so we'll stretch ourselves a bit. So let's say we have an organization, and their vision is total alleviation of HIV/AIDS or some disease throughout all of Southeast Asia, and that's a big vision, right? So like you said, that's a tough one. It's a clear vision, but it's a very big one. It's a tough one to tackle. Mission wise, what would be a mission? Would a mission kind of go by country, or would a mission be starting with like a niche group of people, like trying to reduce intravenous drug users, or like what would be probably the approach that you would look at something like that? Would you try and take it into smaller bite sizes and then grow it over time, or would you try multi-pronged in a particular location and then expand locations?
Yes, as you're explaining, a mission is more like a big pie, and the pie, you cut these triangular pieces of a mission, and often not one entity can take the whole pie or the vision, whatever it is, because it's just so big, and they may not have the resources, the expertise, personnel, and even just the realistic, achievable goals. So they just choose one piece which is their strength, where they think they can choose, while other entities or other social enterprises or non-profit are tackling other pieces. For example, if you focus high school, for example, you're addressing HIV/AIDS prevention. So if you target, for example, age, for example, from this age to that age, or high school going kids, then you design activities and programs to educate them, to equip them with knowledge and skills and tools and whatever they require to do that, and to help change, if need to change behavior or adapt new behaviors. So yes, so you can go by age, or you can go by specific area of flammable HIV prevention. It's just so big. Or you can focus healthcare workers, you choose them as a primary target. But it will become very complicated if you deal with, you can't do all the parts unless you are, UN or something. You have to tackle all the entire thing. Even themselves, they don't have enough resources. That's why it's done in it. They are able to cooperate with other entities around the world and countries, because no one entity can address this issue. So therefore, yes, I do agree with you. You start at whatever is chewable at your level, whether it's at village level, community level, city level, or national level. And actually, the success, for example, for HIV/AIDS, why was it successful, for example, in Sub-Sahara, in some of the prevention? Because it was being done at micro levels.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, the bigger organizations were the ones coordinating these micro level, equipping these smaller, non-profit ones to achieve the bigger part. So yes, it's a big, like you chose a very broad and big mission kind of thing. Therefore, it's one of those where somebody need to see where do they fit in.
Yeah.
Or somebody can just focus on nutrition. They choose for under 5 clinic, nutrition for the people who are underprivileged, that can't feed their kids because of poverty and HIV/AIDS situation in that area. So I think one of the things is to identify what are the key needs in this community. That's why, to do the need assessment and identify it, then from there you plan what you should do.
Yeah, I had to throw a big vision, big mission kind of thing at you because you're always a big vision, big mission kind of guy anyway. so you're one of those few people I know that you've got the vision planned out well beyond your lifespan. So there is that.
I think that usually vision should outlive us or anyone. So usually when people are planning for entities, the vision outlive them because the vision is so big, or the issue we are addressing is so big, it may not be solved in our lifetime. That's how true it is.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I just read an interesting proverb last week. It says, when you're planting a tree that you are not going to enjoy its fruits or sit under its shade, it means you are doing well. So often we plant trees, do things like planting a tree, and we may not fruit of that tree, see it bear fruit, or you may not even enjoy sitting it under its shade. But the next generation, their lives will be better because you planted that tree. That's my visionary thinking. And therefore, it's not a very self-centered of what you're going to get from it. You may not get anything or benefit anything, but the next generation's life will be far better because you planted that tree.
Yeah, that's probably true. There probably are a lot of traditional mission and vision statements that are almost too short-sighted in a sense that they're thinking almost too small and too short-term. I think that's probably that's definitely an American problem. I think we think in very, very short term, 4 years, even our presidency is like, 4 years to 8 years. So it's a very short term compared to some place like Rome that had, a very, very long legacy, lifetime members of political bureaus and things like that. And they had a much longer outlook in many regards. So yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. I think the other very interesting thing that you just hit on just a little while ago was partnering is very important. And I know you're one of those people that's really good at networking. I've always been a little jealous because I'm not good at networking at all, but you've always been really good at making those connections. And so, yeah, maybe a lot of times people come at things kind of maybe a little bit too alone, maybe a bit too individualistic, even as their organization. They need to stop and go, well, maybe I'm dealing with this piece of this vision, and this is my mission encompasses this part, but these guys they also have the same vision, and they can encompass this other part, and that's we need to be more open to looking for the people that are out there that are doing what we're doing. Now I work with a lot of churches, and so this gets very interesting, right? Like a place like Singapore here, there's the last statistics I saw, there was about 600 churches. Now you go in there, and Singapore's a very small place. There's a lot of people, but it's a small place, and you kind of go, well, a lot of the churches are pretty cookie cutter. They're not very different. Like we talked about earlier, there is a vision that's been given, that revelation kind of vision, that eschatological vision. But then there's, mission, which is, Great Commission. But then there's that question of, which you've got 600 other churches that you're working alongside. What is your specific church going to kind of focus on within that Great Commission? I know some people would say, well, that sounds very unspiritual and that doesn't seem appropriate. I'm not saying you should turn people away, but maybe if you've got 600 churches, everybody should start focusing a little bit on where they're uniquely gifted to kind of reach out, if that makes sense. Because like you're saying, sometimes you've got a bigger vision. This big broad vision is huge, right? Like every tribe and every tongue and every nation. You've got that very big mission that's been ongoing for thousands of years now, and you've got you find yourself in a modern context, in a modern place with a lot of people, and is it okay to niche down and say, well, we're a church that we've got a lot of gym rats, and so they love going to the gym, they love exercising, and we want to be a light and a resource and be able to minister to people who are very active and fit and doing these kinds of things, and should they tailor themselves a little bit to do that and kind of be willing to say, okay, we're not the mothers of preschoolers church per se, and we're okay with that. But there's this other church down the road who's just amazing at doing preschool ministry and stuff like that, and so people that want to do preschool ministry, we send them down the road and tell them God blessed. So based on some of the things that you're saying, and based on some of the work that we've done, because you and I, we've dealt with the grants and stuff like that, where we've actually had, even just in our own organization, we had several different groups that were dealing with one problem, whether that was poverty alleviation or HIV/AIDS. There was multiple departments dealing with it. Each had like their own grants from their own organizations, and they're all trying to tackle one big problem, but different parts of that problem. What I'm hearing is, even in those faith-based things, maybe we should be more willing to talk to, the Baptist church down the street, the Anglicans, around the corner, and say, hey, guys, this is what we're really gifted at, but we don't have this type of ministry. Can we send people over to you? We see that you've got an amazing youth ministry. Our youth ministry is not really all that amazing. We've only got five youth, so it's kind of hard for us to have a super amazing youth ministry. Can we work with you guys and send our youth over to you guys, because you've just got this amazing youth pastor and a youth ministry of a few hundred kids, and it's really hopping and doing a great job. Are these things that we can do? And what's your take on that? What do you think about that?
Well, as you're talking about churches, what in my mind is about this description. Paul talks about we are one body and different parts. Different parts of the body will do different things. And the eye will not do what the hand can do, and then the ear and stuff. So I think it's true that I think it's and of course we're given gifts, and of course the honor of the vision provide all the resources in form of gifts and talents and skills. So I think it is true, though we are geographically, let's say like you're talking about Singapore. Yes, different people are doing different things, but still it's one body in Singapore. So it's figuring out where that body is, the arm. Well, how do we don't have the hand, but they have the hands, or we are not the eyes, they have the eyes. So identifying what the strengths and the gifts or the abilities of the other parts of the body, and like you said, figure out how to work together to achieve the mission, and focus on the vision. So I think, and also I think we need to, of course, part of it is wisdom and strategy, whether it's, for example, there's a need for being certain light in the gymnasium, and then we figure out strategies. How do we reach out to people who are going to gym? They're so busy, but they do have 2 hours to go to gym, or some are doing kindergarten, and some are doing elderly activities. Those elderly people who They don't, they need interaction with others, or other needs met, or they need help or assistance. So I think that it is true. There is unlimited opportunity, or for use the word, there's unlimited ministries to do. It's just more focusing than we put our time and resources to that, which I think is a great thing to do. So I don't know if this helps. Another one, the enemy of achieving the bigger vision also is, like you said, short-sighted, because we want. Most people say vision, but they're talking about something that's going to be accomplished in 7 years, 10 years, 5 years. Most of these, for you and I, we think these are goals, certain targets that should be achieved in 1 year, 3, 5, 10, 20, even 50 years. But part of it, people wants to do something that shows results right away, and so that they can rather more support or people, because they've seen these results. Yes, some things, yes, we do. You can see results within 3 months, 1 year, 3 years, but some of this you can't. But you can have some steps that you can measure that you are moving the right direction. And I think the danger for the church is sometimes to use more corporate model of measuring. I think that's a little bit of danger there, because corporate measures, they are measuring numbers and targets, and there's, which is different. But when we measure success in the non-profits and also in the church, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm going to bring us back around to that, probably in a future episode that we do here, just because you and I, we've had that experience of trying to help a lot of whether it's a ministry or a nonprofit or a department within a nonprofit, all these various groups, we've helped them sit down and deal with trying to achieve their vision and their mission, and that was always really interesting, and very fruitful work, and really enjoyable. And we'll definitely hit on some of that and how we help them kind of focus in on their goals and their expenditure and stuff. Because that was that's always been kind of a highlight of my career, was sitting around meeting with various leaders with you as well, and we often had Jessica with us as well back then. But that was always a really fun and fruitful thing to do. And I think it almost deserves, like I said, its own episode, just talking about how you've got these big things now, and now how do you start to kind of drive forward. But before that, I think people are kind of going to wonder.
Just a second. I think one more thing. Why the entity at the time that you and I were working with, why it was so successful? Remember, because the entity was not interested in getting credit or you and I say glory. Mm-hmm. That's why remember, it was a corporation of multiple entities.
Yeah.
Because it's a great model. Unfortunately, very few entities. It's difficult to find entities like that are willing. The entity was focused on the mission. And I mean, I can say it, you and I, we know the vision and the mission in our head, because it was everywhere, in every document they had on the walls and everything like that.
Yeah.
So Ombrand says they had focused on the vision and mission that rallied everyone together. But each entity, that's kind of interesting, each entity that partnered with everyone else, they had their own vision and mission. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, because of the big, broader vision that the entity were cooperating with had, there was no conflict. I think it was a great model. I think there's a lesson that I have learned from that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was occasionally a small conflict, but never anything like serious or major, right? Because it was almost always pretty close alignment because of that vision alignment, and broader, yes. the very broad kind of mission alignment always kind of fit and worked. So yeah, I think you're definitely right there. Since this week we're talking about the vision and mission, and why why you and I take kind of this opposite approach from we don't sit down and start with a mission statement. We start off looking at the vision. I think there's probably going to be people asking, well, how do I either come up with or discern my vision and mission? I think vision is probably comes out of either, if it's religious organization, it's handed to you already. If it's otherwise, it's probably kind of a passion thing. If you're working from social enterprise or a nonprofit, it's probably something you're passionate about. That you came in, you saw this problem in your community, and you said, I want to do something about that. I want to stop this. I want to solve it. Now, how do you come up with a good mission that people can kind of get behind and join you and like, how do you come up with like a good kind of mission, either a statement? Do you believe in a mission statement, or do you think a mission should be more of a broader thing, or do you think it should be like a mission should be like almost more like value statements? How do you think is probably going to be the most effective way for somebody to communicate a mission that would help them get people on board to kind of push forward to achieving that vision, that big, huge vision that's maybe beyond their life, but that's what they're shooting for?
What I've seen is usually the vision sometimes it's so big, and the entity has different departments with different missions. So often the communication is more about the mission than the vision, because they see it right in front of them. I think the mission must be clear and very precise, that when it's achieved, everybody can know that it's achieved. And of course, like I use the example of the one we use about the desert storm. The mission was very clear. Everybody knew whether it's a cook or whatever the job was, to do the work in the what the work was. They knew specifically what their mission was. So it must be very clear, very specific, that when it's accomplished, everybody knows it's done. So of course, when the mission is accomplished, what they do is that they finish that and they have to redefine a new mission. That's what they do. Okay, then you reallocate your resources, or you close your entity down. But often what they do, they redesign their institution to focus on another new mission. The vision is still the same, but the mission could change when it's accomplished. Just like, for example, I know polio has almost been eradicated now. So the mission to eradicate polio is no longer, in existence. It's done. It's a done deal. Doesn't mean there might be tiny little bit here and there, but 99%, I think it's all gone. So that mission is accomplished. So the resources will need to be reallocated to another different mission, with the same goal of having a better global health situation globally. So how do you know? I think how do you know if the mission is clear? One must be very clear, very very clear, very specific, and achievable. It must be achievable. The vision, I think, may look like not achievable because it's broader. It almost requires a long term. But I think the mission should be able to be achieved within a specific time. And when it's achieved, people should know it's done. Then they can pack and go to the next assignment.
So almost to an extent, like if your vision is, if you've got this vision to, say, eradicate homelessness in your community, like you said, there's a lot of different missions that kind of encompasses, right? Because homelessness can be, a lot of it's drugs and alcohol, a lot of it's mental health even. So you might actually come into it saying, okay, we need to deal with the drugs, alcohol, and mental health, and I'm going to partner with this organization over here that what they're doing is the housing and side, and these other guys are dealing with jobs and providing jobs. So really, you know what your mission is, you know what they know what their mission is, and you're all on the same vision. And so when you have that kind of synergy, it becomes a lot easier to deal with these big kind of vision problems. Is that accurate?
Yes, I think that's accurate. Now, to achieve to just add that, like as we said, there's a vision. Then, of course, you have goals. The goals which are between 1 to 5 years, whatever, depends on the time frame of each
Mhm.
goal. Then under that, there is the activities. These are activities that you do daily, weekly, monthly, quarter, or yearly. So when you're achieving these activities daily, you are, by the end of the year, specific goals have been achieved. So there is some doable, concrete steps or strategies that are happening, like you just mentioned, if part of solving the homelessness is, for example, somebody is providing some skills, education, literacy, or technical skills, or things like that. In the long term, you will these people, they'll no longer be homeless in a few years because they will have skills, they would have got help to get off from drug addiction, they would have, cleaned up themselves, they'll be having better families. So in the long term, you're doing that, but at the same time, of course, the best is to deal with the root, what's causing them be homeless. Then you want to deal with the root cause. I think that's where you eradicate that in the long term by dealing with the root cause of the problem. So I think you and I from social enterprise of non-profit, often we are not interested in handouts. We want to, while we are doing first aid or emergency response or helping in the short term, we want to do the root cause so that the problem doesn't continue forever.
True. Yeah. So that you don't end up with like generational issues or things that kind of continue. You want to have uh, the you want to be dealing with those problems as kind of core and fundamentally as possible, and not dealing with just the symptoms. Um, yeah. So I think that about covers it on kind of vision and coming up with mission. If I can find some of our old templates, I'll post that with the show notes here, because I know that we had some
I,
templates where we used to help people
I,
build their
I
vision and mission.
them. I do have them. I can check them out, probably send them over to you. But I was actually thinking, I think it's very nice for people to see just how doable they are. You know, what you're talking about is, we're talking about is a thing where there's a vision which takes ages to get it done, but there's a mission that can be accomplished and we can see it. Then there's of course goals, then there's objective, there's activities and tasks, and of course that also I like it. For example, tasks have what resources do we need, what funding do we need, how much do we need, and how do we measure that we are moving forward and we're achieving our thing. So yes, if I don't, please send me a
Yeah.
reminder. I'll send you some of
I
all
I
the
know our full
drafts.
templates that we would always use have like the full SMART goals, and it has like it breaks things down a lot. Because we used to actually do spreadsheets and stuff with that as well, right? Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I might simplify that up a little bit, just because we used to actually walk people through those to complete those. But yeah, we'll link a simplified one down in the show notes so people can kind of understand where they start and what they can kind of work from, and where they can go. All right, so David, anything else that you want to add, or does that about cover it?
Well, I think I know. I think we can, in a concrete way, I think redefine the steps involved in doing this. I think maybe, I don't know whether we can do our next session or whenever. I think after talking to that thing, it's clear. I think we can make it more concrete, where so that is doable. And also with the template you're talking about, that'll make it easy. So you and I can talk a little bit later how we make that happen. So maybe we can just add that a little bit to this so that the two get together. So maybe we may need another
Yeah.
session
Well, we
because
might need to do a workshop even though. That might be
yeah,
of a lot of value to people. Just because in the past we actually, there would be two or three of us sitting down and consulting, with like a leader of a nonprofit department or a nonprofit in total, or even when we would work with like some of these other organizations that are large corporations that wanted to kind of move into the nonprofit space and do some nonprofit stuff. Even then, it would still be we a few of us would kind of sit down and kind of walk them through some of that stuff. So it might make more sense if we're walking people through those in a webinar. So in fact, if that's something people are interested in, like, subscribe, and leave a comment and say, hey, yeah, we would really like some help working on our vision and mission, and understanding how it plays out. Because we've both been doing that for how many years has it been for us?
Well, I think it's now it's a long time. If we add your years and my years, when we worked in total, you have to go talk an average 25 to 30 years. That's very long.
Yeah, I went into ministry leadership in at least part-time in 2000. Well, about 2000. And then transitioned more and more. 2001. And
Wow. That's a lot of years. Your years and my years.
It's been a lot of years. Yeah. And even before then, even in university there, it was my degree was it was a criminal justice one, but it was actually kind of a lot of public administration, so it was police administration. So that's and we used to use a lot of that, surprisingly, in our consulting. Is we based a lot of stuff off of how to run an effective police department. It was a lot of what we kind of pulled on and put into some of our forms.
I think this is important. I mean, you can't, in developing an effective strategy, you have to have very clear vision, mission, goals, objectives, activities, tasks. I mean, without that, your strategy must be aiming at something.
Yeah, that's probably why using some of that police stuff worked so well, is because police stuff is very, very cut and dry. It's either legal or illegal. It's either, there's crime or there's not a crime. But also the
I think one of the good books I have here it's written for police leadership back, I think, in New York or stuff.
Is that one of my books? Do you have one of my books still?
Did you? No, I don't think I got it from them.
It's probably one of mine that I left behind.
Anyway, I'll have to wait and see. But
you probably ended up with one of my books from like CompStat or something like that. Because we used CompStat as a model, and it worked very, very well. Even though it was designed for police departments.
The reason I like you and I, we are crazy about leadership development. So when I saw some principles in there, I saw these because they were very successful. I mean, it's made on successful models. So that's why when I saw, I don't know where I got it. So it could be your book.
Probably. So I probably left it in our PDE office up there in Kudman.
No, it's an excellent model. So like I said, I mean, in short, I mean, our mission, of course, we have a leadership mission of where basically developing and growing and developing leaders in different sectors, especially in the non-profit and, of course, in the body and all that kind of thing. I think that's one of our clear missions. So that's why we focus and invest a lot in leadership development.
Yes, we did. Yeah. And we'll definitely have to do a future episode about how we would do leadership development and our stories about staff members that nobody wanted to have, and then 3 months later everybody wanted to have them again because they'd worked with us for a few months. Because there's a lot of lessons we learned there, huh?
Anyone no one wanted, they get thrown into all the difficult cases, individuals, they end up in our department. And then afterwards, when we work with them for after a couple of months, everybody wants them back.
Yeah, a lot of it just had to do with we'll go fully into that because I think leadership development and even just general staff development is such a it's such a rewarding thing. A lot of people don't realize how rewarding it actually can be if you really just dig in and work with these people and give them the kind of attention that they need, and you can actually move them.
I think as you're mentioning it, I remember how everybody worked for us. After a few months, they became that everyone wanted them. Look at entities that took people like Jessica.
Yeah.
I mean, and then of course immediately she was in a leadership role. She upscaled herself over time. So I have already a number of names that come in my brain that have come and worked with you and I, and eventually became leaders of different whatever, whether it's a department somewhere or they move up to a different entity or institution. So yeah, I think we have learned quite some lessons there.
Yeah, we'll have to do a future show with how lessons learned in staff development, leadership development, because it's we had just such an interesting I guess environment to experiment in, working in NGOs up there in China, that everything just happens very quickly in China, and similarly the lessons that we would pick up and learn were also pretty kind of came at a fast pace. So yeah, we ended up with our own developing our own system and lessons very quickly up there. So it would be interesting for us to talk about that.
Yeah, but I think there are some principles that have worked in other countries, whether in other continents. So I think those are the ones I think that we can share, which are workable and valid in other countries or other continents.
Oh yeah, so they'll definitely work anywhere. They were very generalized because a lot of the stuff we pulled was even just like I said, it was like from U.S. police training and stuff like that, and we were just taking some of these principles from various leadership books and how do we move people into a competency level. Part of it had to do with, and here's what people need to know about you and I, is that you and I are both very laissez-faire in our leadership styles. So what we almost did it out of necessity. We said, well, we don't want to have to look over our staff's shoulders all the time and constantly be authoritarian, because we don't like being authoritarian. So we said, okay, how can we build them up to a competency level wherein they thrive in our leadership style, and so we can be kind of laissez-faire, and they can be highly effective and do a lot of work without a ton of oversight. And that's really why we were doing so much development, is because, in part, the way that each of us leads is conducive to that. So we'll definitely have to talk about it.
I think, as you mentioned, I think one thing why it works is because when we delegate a task, we also delegate responsibility for them to give feedback. We didn't want to chase them around. They are the ones responsible to follow up and give us feedback or update on what's happening. And also, I think the design was a regular weekly catch up with each staff or each department. So I think that also helped.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
Well, yeah. That came from CompStat. Yeah, we did CompStat style meetings once a week.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd stand at the whiteboard and just drive the whole thing because we didn't want to do more than an hour. Yes. I think we set the limit at 1 hour, right? And we'd go through objectives and stuff. But yeah, we'll have to go through the whole system that we developed and the parts that we brought together later.
Maybe one of the conversations we should invite Jessica to come and join us. She was key in some of the things we're doing. She can join our conversation.
Yeah, Jessica went through the whole thing.
I can arrange her to come and join us, and she can join our discussion.
Yeah, Jessica was actually on our team. We'll have to talk a little bit about how we ended up with extra teams and all of that fun stuff, because that's just part of working in nonprofits and ministries and stuff like that, is sometimes you end up with all kinds of stuff under your umbrella that you didn't expect. And we definitely had a lot of stuff we did not expect to get, but
Yeah,
it was fun.
yeah,
It was interesting. Now, so
yes, no,
David, Yunnique, you guys do coffee, you do handmade goods, things like that, working with the deaf and disabled, doing poverty alleviation up there in Yunnan. Um, for those people that are in China, where can they get the products?
well, I think they can contact you on the link below, and then so I think that's the best way to. I think that's the easiest way to do it. They just contact us on the link below, and then we can have a
Yeah,
conversation.
and there's bulk items available as well. So that you guys do wholesale and uh, you do bags and things like that. So yeah, that's all available. And you will send me the link for that because I don't actually have it offhand, or have Jing send it because yeah, I don't have that
Yeah,
offhand.
yeah,
Either the Taobao link
yeah.
or the WeChat or whatever it is that you guys are using at this point. All right, well, David, thank you very much. I look forward to doing a future one, and we've definitely learned quite a few lessons trying to do a Teams meeting here to kind of do our broadcast. And we'll have this show up probably in the next day or two.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Isaac. We'll again catch up with you soon then.
All right.